Boy, it's June 3rd, 1942. World War II is in full effect. 6 months ago, Japan attacked Pearl Harbour on December 7th, forcing America into the war. In the months following that, Japan had expanded out, occupying the Philippines, Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, Netherlands, East Indies, and parts of the east coast of China. America bombed Tokyo in the Doolittle raids a month ago, and in May, America and Japan clashed in the Battle of the Coral Sea. Now, the most influential battle in the Pacific is about to take place as Japan and America's naval fleets steam towards each other to fight over a tiny island called Midway. Welcome to Cheeky Tales, a podcast where two mates tell each other interesting stories, whether they be crazy occurrences, mysteries, or in today's case, a historical event. I'm John, and this is Aaron.
Hello.
And today I'll be telling you the story of the Battle of Midway. A bit more of a serious tale today, boy. But there's just some amazing events in this battle that pretty much changed the course of history. You don't use that. What do you know about the War in the Pacific, or even just World War II?
I have done, I've watched I've watched a few things. Netflix has about 8,000 documentaries on World War II. Battle of Midway, though, I don't really know a ton about.
It's very interesting. There is I'll mention this later on, but I can bring it up now. There is a movie on Amazon Video called Midway. It's very good.
There is a movie on Amazon. Costs about $1.15.
No, it doesn't. That one's free. You don't have to pay for that one.
I don't know if that's the case.
Well, you have to pay your subscription.
Someone paid $1.15 and it wasn't you, was it?
That was a different movie.
Well, when I checked the view history, it was the Battle of Midway, or the Midway. What's it called? Midway.
Midway. No, really?
That was the video. That was the movie that you were slightly through. So for context, John has my Amazon Prime login. And one night I'm just sitting here 9:30 at night. I'm like, why have I just been charged $1.15 by Amazon Prime? Cue an hour and a half of investigation, thinking my account's been hacked, to find it's just John watching a movie with his wife.
Forgot I was logged in as you. But thank you for sharing it with me.
You have your own account.
I do, but thank you for... I didn't when I asked to borrow yours, but thank you for sharing it with me, boy.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that $1.15 movie.
It was actually very good. I do recommend it. If you find today's episode interesting, go watch it. It's dramatised a little bit, and they obviously foreshadow events that happen later on, but it is good and it's quite accurate to the events that happened.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyway, well, before we get too far into it, I just want to pause here for a moment to recognise all the men and women who fought and lost their lives in these battles, both American and Japanese, and also just wanted to thank all our past and present Australian Defence Force members for their service.
Nice. I would like to echo that sentiment.
There were quite a few people who lost their lives in this battle and over the course of all wars, and I just wanted to pay respects to those people and the people who are currently serving our nation.
Yeah, we know a few. And
we do.
We're very thankful.
All right, well, so first off, there's a few things I mentioned in that little intro. One was Pearl Harbour.
Yep.
Surely you've heard of Pearl Harbour?
I have heard of Pearl Harbour.
Rightio. So
fantastic movie.
It is important in a certain way.
Bet that one didn't cost me $1.15.
No, it also is a good movie. Anyway, so there is something important in the attack on Pearl Harbour for us.
Yep.
Not that it just was 6 months before Midway. It was the fact that obviously the Japanese attacked America.
Yep.
And it brought America into the war.
Sure did. Big way.
So it happened early on a Sunday morning and there was no warning. The entire attack lasted about 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing for us to take out of this, though, is that all of America's carriers were not at Pearl Harbour during the attack.
I think I know a little bit about Pearl Harbour, and it makes no sense that they attacked, really. They didn't get what they wanted to get, which was the carriers.
Well, they did in a way. So at this point in history, it was a transitional period between the dominant power in naval battles. So coming out of World War I to World War II, and the Japanese still believe this, is that the dominant power in naval battles was battleships. So they knew that carriers weren't there, but all 8 US battleships were at dock, and they thought it was too good of an opportunity to pass up. So they attacked anyway, and they were able to, I think it was 2 battleships that were destroyed out of all the ones that were attacked. 6 got repaired and sent back in. I think out of all the ships that were attacked, I think 3 were not repaired and unserviced.
Yeah.
So I don't have the number of how many ships were in dock at the
A lot of money. A lot of money.
It's a lot of
time.
money.
Yeah.
So like I said, the important part for us is that the carriers weren't at Pearl Harbour when the Japanese attacked. So as I mentioned, it was a transitional period. The dominant naval power was changing from battleships to carriers, because a battleship, you kind of have to see your enemy to be able to attack them, because they have a range of about 20 miles, whereas an aircraft carrier has a range of 200 miles. You don't have to see your enemy to attack them.
Yeah.
So that's that transitional period. They're starting to work out, well, hang on a minute, we can actually attack other ships and fleets without getting too close and putting ourselves in too much danger.
Yeah.
So this is the transitional period. I also mentioned the Doolittle raids. Do you know what the Doolittle raids are? They do get into that in the Pearl Harbour movie at the end.
Yeah, which I've not seen. I'll make a lot of references to things I had no idea about.
Okay, fair enough.
Doolittle raids, right?
Yes. So
did it involve Dr. Doolittle?
No, but it was...
Cheap joke.
I don't have his rank. I think it was Colonel or Commander. His last name was Doolittle.
I would assume so, yeah.
So what they did with the Doolittle raid is they launched army bombers off of aircraft carriers,
right,
and bombed Tokyo. So you got to think about army bombers.
It's a bomber, which is a big ass plane.
Well, they do have bombers that take off from carriers, but
but like I'm picturing like a big ass bomber.
It's not. I would say it's a medium bomber. So it's 2-engine. For people out there who know, it's a B-25B Mitchell bomber. So 2 engines, can carry bombs. They're not designed to take off from aircraft carriers. They're designed to take off from
a runway.
So
like most planes.
They had to do some modifications. They had to lose some weight. They added extra.
Put it on diet.
Yeah, they added extra fuel tanks. They had foldable fuel tanks put in.
Hot bomber summer.
So once the fuel was empty, they could kind of less weight.
Yeah, ditch.
Speaking of ditch, that was the plan. So if this plane's not designed to take off from a carrier, do you reckon it's designed to land on a carrier?
No.
So the plan was take off, bomb Tokyo, and then fly to unoccupied part of China and ditch. Chinese would look after them, etc. So with the Doolittle raid, not much damage was done to actual Tokyo. It was more of a morale boost for the US and a demoralizing for the Japanese.
Propaganda.
Because, not so much propaganda, but it's an actual attack on Japan's capital.
Gotcha.
So this is important for us. I bring this up because it's going to come up later that the Japanese start to realize maybe the carriers are important. So this is another example of why carriers are important. They've been able to launch an attack and strike Tokyo.
Yeah.
I also mentioned in our little thing the Battle of the Coral Sea. Heard of that one?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm not going to be a great everyman for this. I've heard of nothing.
I don't think. Well, that's the point of the podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
So the Battle of the Coral Sea.
Was it in the Coral Sea?
Yes.
10 points to Gryffindor.
Do you know where that is?
Coral Sea. It's like up north, isn't it? Like it's above us, above Australia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's in the Indonesian area.
It's north of Indonesia, right?
It's in. I believe it's northeast or just east of. We might have to look it up. I did forget to actually write down where it is. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
So the Coral Sea, according to Google Maps, the Coral Sea is east of Queensland.
Okay.
So it's sort of like before you get to the Solomons and stuff.
Yeah. So the Battle of Coral Sea is east of Queensland.
Which is on the eastern side of Australia.
Yes. It happened a month before the Battle of Midway.
Yeah.
The significance of this battle is it was the first time in history two aircraft carrier fleets engaged each other. So beforehand, they've had little skirmishes where you've had an aircraft carrier fleet launch planes and attack like an island or some other ships and stuff. This is the first time aircraft carriers on opposing sides
slapping each other.
Yeah. The other significance in history for this battle is, I mentioned it before, no ships directly fired at each other.
Okay. So in the Battle of the Coral Sea.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was no ship-to-ship battle.
No broadsides.
No broadsides or anything like that.
So this is the first time in history that happened.
Talked over each other.
Cool. Staying in.
Okay. And both sides claim victory here.
Okay.
So the Japanese were claiming victory.
I love that. Yeah, we won. No, we won. Okay.
Pretty much what happened because they won on ships sunk.
Yeah.
So the Japanese sunk more American ships.
There's not really how do you determine who won? It's just everyone just agrees.
Well, they don't even agree. They don't get together after. They're still at war. They don't get together afterwards and go, I won that battle. Yeah, okay, fair call. You did. No,
victories, winning the war means you can write history, right? Like history is written by the victors. So you can have a terrible loss and then down the line just be like, oh, massive win for us. Yeah. great battle.
It's just their media back in their home country saying we won this because we sunk this many ships, we only lost this many.
Propaganda.
So the Japanese claim that they did that, whereas the Americans claim they won because it was the first battle from the start of like Japan and America entering the war where Japan was actually stopped from completing their mission pretty much.
Yeah.
So like I rattled off all those other countries before where Japan was expanding. They just rolled through pretty much taking what they wanted. They never actually got stopped. They were stopped. America took heavy casualties and losses, but Japan stopped from being able to take the Coral Sea, which is that area in there.
Is this about the point where there was like submarines in?
Yeah, in Sydney Harbour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So also, well, it might have been a little bit before. I do remember reading, it was about February when Japan was expanding its, front line. They bombed Darwin.
Yeah.
And the interesting fact about that is that there were actually more bombs dropped on Darwin than there was at Pearl Harbour.
Yeah, it is actually, it's crazy to me that that's not something we know more about, right? Like, it's something that just gets mentioned every so often, like, oh, the Japanese bombed Darwin. Literally, World War II was happening on Australia.
Yep.
And we don't really talk about it.
Don't really talk about it.
It's like, we know more about American history as Australians than we do about the fact that we had people bombing us.
I believe part of the Japanese plan was to invade the northern end of Australia. And
why? Why go for the northern bit with nothing in it?
Well, they got to start somewhere. They got to work their way down.
True.
So they will check pretty much.
Apologies to Darwin and, anywhere north of Rockhampton.
Japan was chasing resources.
Yeah.
They had limited resources
There's
going to the war.
There's plenty of iron up there.
Oil. They needed oil. They went into this war short of oil to make fuel. So that's why they went so hard and so fast quickly.
Yeah.
Just paying out the top half of Australia. Beautiful country.
There's like crocodiles and that plant that if you touch it the wrong way hurts you forever. Like that's about it. You don't know about that one?
No.
There's this plant that like if you rub it like one way, so let's say down, if you rub it downwards, it's totally fine. If you rub it the other way, it puts these like microscopic needles through your skin directly to your nerves.
Oh.
And for like 6 months, you've just got excruciating pain when you do anything.
I've not heard of this. I'm now going to be terrified of plants when I go anywhere.
Yeah, no. When I was up there, when I was a kid, they were like, don't touch anything in the rainforest.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, because 12.
So back to the Coral Sea.
Yeah.
There's some important parts here to take note of. Japanese lost 2 fleet carriers.
Yep.
I'm going to try and pronounce their names.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear your Japanese pronunciation.
The Shokaku.
Terrible.
And the Zuikaku.
That's going to be like 3% correct, but I would do no better. So
it's going to be 100% correct because I made sure I looked up pronunciations before I got here.
Didn't look up how to pronounce pronunciations.
No, I didn't. That's a great flub, isn't it? Just to flub the word pronunciation.
So I know how to speak, yes.
On the US side, they lost the USS Lexington. It was destroyed.
Yep.
And to the Japanese knowledge, they lost the USS Yorktown.
Great name. I like that. Yorktown.
I'm glad you remember that because this ship is going to become very important.
Okay. But they lost it, right?
To the Japanese knowledge.
Okay. All right. Foreboding.
It actually managed to limp back to Pearl Harbour.
Okay, cool. To Pearl Harbour?
Yes.
From the Coral Sea?
Yes, damaged.
That's a long trip.
Damaged.
Wow, that's like a quarter of the planet it's gone around to get back to Pearl Harbour.
I wish I could tell you how long it took, but I didn't look it up.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that was one piece of feedback I got from someone was to our first episode was just, you can Google stuff. I'm like, it's not fun though.
It's not fun to pause and Google.
It's not fun to pause. Just guess.
Just guess? No, I'm not going to guess. I'm gonna look it up for you.
Oh, lame. Research. Interlude.
One-handed.
One finger typing. Back to the action.
Okay. Can't find how long it took.
Okay, great. I've edited this down in the final mix. But that legitimately took John like 5 minutes sitting on his phone. And he didn't tell me when he was done. So he's just turned to look at me and I had to ask the question.
Turned to look at you and gone, I don't know.
And you know what? This is why we're not doing live Googling. So you know what? If you want the answer, Google it yourself because it doesn't work.
Thanks for the feedback, but first attempt, not great.
All right, let's get back to it.
All right, we're a month on now. We're on to the Battle of Midway.
Yeah. Okay, so we're like 20 minutes in and we've got to the Battle of Midway, which is the title of this episode.
There is important things that you needed to know from that. You needed to know...
All I remember is the USS Yorktown.
Well, you needed to know that carriers are starting to become important.
They're important. Yeah.
They weren't damaged at Pearl Harbour. There was apparently one damaged. Your favourite ship, the Yorktown, it's going to come
I
back.
wouldn't say it's my favourite ship. It's just got a good name.
Why has it got a good name? You tell why does it have
I don't know. It's just a fun name. Okay. Yorktown.
Fun to
What
say.
do you want from me? Like stats? I don't care.
All right, I'm going to give you some quick info on the island itself.
Quick facts.
So it's called Midway. Why do you reckon it's called Midway?
Well, I'm guessing it's halfway between something and something.
It's pretty much halfway between Japan and America.
Okay, great. So who named it?
America. America is in control of it.
That makes sense.
Yep. They've got a airfield on Midway.
Yep.
And they're in control of it.
Hang on. So it wasn't called Midway before this?
Yeah. I think I remember reading America had control of it from about 1860, I think.
Okay, so they've just named it that at some point. Yeah. All right. Not important. Let's move on.
The island itself is an area of 6.2 square kilometres.
That's small.
It's very small.
Yeah, that's a little boy.
It's made up of 3 separate islands.
Okay, what?
Called Sand, Spit and Eastern.
Okay.
So,
right. Yep, Eastern Island. I wonder where that is.
Well, it's on the east. It's the biggest. It's the biggest island.
Oh.
Sand Island has the runway on it, and Spit is just like a tiny.
Sorry, is it called Sand Island?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So they've not really tried hard with the naming of this group of islands, have they? Eastern, Sand.
I recommend Googling a picture.
And Midway.
Because it's an atoll. Do you know what an atoll is?
I do know what an atoll is.
Oh, that's very good.
So anyone that knows me will know that I believe there are too many names for water bodies. I'm starting to think there's too many names for islands as well.
Would you want to explain what an atoll is?
An atoll is like a horseshoe-shaped group of islands, and the atoll is the islands itself, right?
Yes.
And then the water is it a lagoon? No.
Kind of. It's a shallowish. So the way Midway Atoll is set up is you got those 3 main islands down the bottom.
Yeah.
And there's like a sandbar that does that horse-shaped shoe up to the north.
Yeah.
So as I said, it's about halfway. So it's about 4,200 kilometres from Japan and about 5,400 kilometres from the
What was those numbers?
4,200.
4,200.
And 5,400.
Right. So not Midway at all.
It's pretty close.
About 40% way.
From the mainland of USA.
Yeah.
It's closer to Hawaii, obviously.
Yeah.
And as of 2019, the approximate population of Midway is 40 people.
Okay. Oh, so there's still people there. Okay.
Yeah. I believe it's a fisheries research. And so the airfield and airbase is still there. And there's fishery. You can't actually go there. I was reading something. They stopped travel in 2013. You can't actually go there unless you're studying or...
Yeah, working there.
Yeah, working there. So the Japanese plan for Midway, they wanted to destroy US carriers. They realised their importance after the Doolittle raid. They've realised how important carriers are. So they want to destroy the US carriers to control the Pacific.
Yeah.
Because once they could do that, then they could start thinking about invading the west coast of America.
Yeah.
To Japan, Midway wasn't actually that important of a strategic target for them, but they thought America would think it was.
Yeah.
So they were coming up with this plan to attack it, which would draw the US carrier fleets out and destroy them. That was their plan. That's what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
There was only one problem with this, boy. Can you guess what it is?
America wasn't fooled.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
America was not fooled because at that time and previously, I guess the intelligence office were able to decode Japanese transmissions.
Yeah.
So they were getting information on movements, etc. It wasn't fully decoded, so they still had some mysteries. Like Japan kept referencing planning an attack on AF, as in the letters AF, but they didn't know where that was.
That's funny in 2021.
Didn't think of that when I was writing this.
Attack AF.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So
down.
They were saying that their target's AF, and so the American intelligence were like, well, we don't even know exactly what they did. So they come up with a little bit of a ruse.
Yeah.
So the intelligence officers was a bit hurt after Pearl Harbour.
Yeah, because they didn't see it coming.
Well, some people were saying that it was possible. They were saying they're going to have an attack here, but like the higher ups, the people in command were like, no, it's the only way we're going to get attacked here is if it's sabotage.
Sabotage.
So that's why all the planes and stuff were grouped together to be able to protect them easily, which just made them perfect targets for the bombing. So yeah, there were people saying Pearl Harbor's going to be attacked. Didn't listen to them. So
Yeah.
the intelligence...
Seems like a theme with America.
Yeah, well, the intelligence office was like, well, okay, we really need to get this right because we don't want another Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
So they come up with a little bit of a ruse. They thought they had a suspicion that Japan was getting ready to attack Midway.
Yeah.
So there's a group of islands north of Pacific, Atlantean or something like that. It's close to Alaska.
Yeah.
Japan was looking at attacking them too because that would get them into Alaska and get them like a base to attack the west coast of America. So what America did was like, hey, Midway, do you just want to send out a non-coded transmission saying that your desalination plant's busted and you've got like 2 weeks of fresh water left? Because you've been out that far out in the ocean. That's a bit of a problem, right?
Yeah.
So they did that. And then lo and behold, a day or so later, they started intercepting Japanese transmissions saying AF was out of fresh water. Yeah. So bam, they had them.
They know what it is.
They know that the Japanese are planning to attack Midway.
Great tactic.
So this allowed America to plan a counterattack.
Yeah.
So they were intercepting other stuff. They kind of had an idea of what was going to happen. So they planned accordingly. So the guy in charge of America...
Was this the Philippines guy?
Who's the Philippines guy?
If I get this wrong, Sean is going to kill me.
I don't think it's the Philippines guy.
General MacArthur?
No, isn't he Army? This is a Navy admiral.
Oh, man. Well, lucky I can edit this.
So
who was it, boy?
Admiral Nimitz.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure you've heard of that name before.
I have heard of that name.
Where have you heard that name before?
World of Warships, mate.
Yes,
it's from the Nimitz class.
I think it's a carrier.
Oh, yeah, I want to say submarine, but I don't think that's true.
No, I'm pretty sure the Nimitz class is a type of carrier. Live Googling.
Gonna do it faster and probably get an answer. It is aircraft carriers.
Thank you very much.
The Nimitz class is a class of 10 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers in service with the United States Navy.
Are they the ones that have their onboard McDonald's?
Bruh, I straight up don't know.
I'm pretty sure they have onboard McDonald's.
These things are massive, though.
They are huge. They are cities in themselves.
332 meters long.
Yep.
$9.5 billion. All right, keep going.
So obviously this guy's important. They named a class of carrier after him. So Nimitz sent a US fleet to Midway to prepare to defend for it.
Yeah.
Day before the attack on Midway, which would have been June 2nd, the Japanese did send a small force to those islands in the north of the Pacific.
So they're trying for a trick.
They kind of were. I think the Americans saw it as they were trying to trick him, whereas I think it was a bit of a communication problem and they actually went a day earlier than they should have. It was meant to be a simultaneous attack.
Okay, so they meant to do it at the same time, be distracting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The US fleet that was sent to Midway to defend it included the USS Yorktown.
Yeah, boy.
So this ship had gone from the Coral Sea, limped back to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
It got back to Pearl Harbor and they were like, this is going to take like 3 months to fix. Nimitz is like, you got 2 days. They worked 48 hours straight and they got that thing back into battle and they sent it back out after 48 hours.
You know what that says to me? Somebody is just vastly overestimating in the US Navy. They're like, 3 months, mate. It'll be forever.
Well, I think to repair it properly, I think what I read, it was more patched than repaired. They patched it up in 48 hours, sent it back into battle. I think they had 1,400 workers working on it for 48 hours straight to get it back, and then they sent it out. And as they were like launching it back out the harbour, they still had people working on it, and they had to like get off as it was leaving the harbour.
Just jump off into the water.
I don't think they were jumping off. I think there was boats there, but
nah.
Anyway,
that sounds lame.
So the thing here is, America actually had 3 aircraft carriers on its way to Midway.
Yeah.
Where Japan was expecting 2.
Okay.
So that's like a third of their actual force that they haven't accounted for. So there's another thing that Japan never planned for.
Yeah.
So the Japanese attack was going to happen with 2 groups of carrier groups with 2 carriers each. They had 4 going to attack Midway. They were going to attack with 1 to draw out the fleet.
So Japan had 4 carriers.
Yes. Okay. America's got 3. So they're going to send 2 in, draw them out, and then attack with the other 2 to finish them off type of thing. Like almost like a pincer maneuver. Hold 1 back, attack with that once they've done the first one. So there's lots of names in these attacks. I'm hopefully not going to get bogged down in details. I might slip a few names out.
Yeah.
Because if I start saying this name,
drop.
this name, it's going to get hard. There's lots of stuff happening.
Yeah.
It's going to get confusing.
All right.
So I'm going to try and let you know what's happening, but not be so detail focused. So bear with me. The attack also included an invasion. They were planning to invade Midway by land. So you'll have like landing things on Midway to take. They were going to use it as a base. Yeah.
Yeah. They wanted the landing strip.
True. That is correct. So at 6:30 a.m., Japanese dive bombers and torpedo bombers attacked Midway Island. Problem there is that the runway and the airfield was still usable after that first attack.
So they have failed step 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
So that allows American planes to still take off from Midway. So they've got the 3 carriers plus the base on Midway.
Okay, so essentially 4 carriers. One just can't move. Big old land carrier.
The American dive bombers and army bombers from Midway attacked the Japanese carrier fleets.
Yeah.
They didn't have a fighter escort. They decided to keep the fighter escort back around Midway to protect Midway. So they were pretty much shot down without doing anything.
Ooh.
So there was some heavy losses in that first American attack. At 7:10, roughly, I'm only going to mention these first times a couple because it's important. The Japanese kept half their planes in reserve.
Okay.
They wanted to be able to make sure after that first attack that they could send off another attack pretty soon afterwards.
Yeah.
The Japanese admiral, ordered his planes to be armed with bombs that could attack land targets.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between the bombs that will attack a ground target to a bomb that will attack a ship. So he ordered them to put land target bombs on the planes. Because that first attack, that first wave that attacked Midway, come back and went, hey, we didn't get the airfield, we need to attack it again.
Yeah.
So that's why he made that order. And this takes about 30 to 40 minutes to arm the planes.
Yeah.
So they usually, I believe, arm the planes in the hangars below the flight deck. They're not doing it up on the flight deck because they've already got scouting planes out.
So aircraft carriers generally are like a hangar underneath.
Yep.
You got a big elevator.
Yep.
They chuck a plane on that.
The elevators are actually on the outside. They come up the outside.
Yeet it up onto the top.
Yep.
Yeet it off into the sky.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you got other ones that come in and then the hangar they'll take the plane down back in to get rearmed and refueled, etc., etc. That 30 to 40 minutes to arm the planes goes by.
Yep.
At 7:40, Japanese scout planes spots a sizable American carrier group.
Big carrier boys.
They weren't expecting this.
America.
So then the admiral had...
Everyone knows how that ends.
The admiral had a decision here. He was in two minds. He could launch the planes that he just armed for ground attacks on Midway, or he could make them go back on his order and say, no, take them off, put the...
So another 40 minutes to swap them back over.
So the other problem that was going on at this time is that those scouting planes that had already been up, they needed to come back down and land. So he was having issues with planes needing to land, having to get planes off again in the attack. The communication wasn't very good.
Just too much going on.
So he made the decision to change the bombs. He's like, swap them back to we're attacking ships because this is a giant carrier group. We need to change the bombs. That caused a problem.
Yeah.
Can you see what the problem is there?
Well, now he's got no planes up.
He's got no planes up, but...
And even if they sink the carriers, still got, an airfield.
That's not the problem.
All right.
The problem is you mentioned that hangar below the flight deck.
Yeah.
So instead of... Because there's planes coming.
Yeah.
And they're in the middle of a battle. They're not putting away the bombs they've taken off properly. They're not storing them back in the magazines. They're getting left in the hangar.
Okay. Yeah.
You can see where this is going.
Yeah. So big old powder keg.
That's one of the problems I had with the movie.
Yeah.
There's a line in the movie where he goes, this place is a powder keg. Like, you don't have to forebode it like that.
No, I think you do, actually. I think that's...
You just did the same thing.
I think it's called the laws of storytelling, John.
So, yeah, it's creating a giant powder keg.
Yeah. Break the fourth wall. Stare at the camera and go, oh boy, that's a hot spicy meatball. Don't know why that'd be Italian.
So back at 7 o'clock.
Am I editing that out? Hell yeah. I'm not going to look like a dickhead.
So back at 7 o'clock, the American carriers had already launched. So back at 7 o'clock.
I'm not editing that out.
Yes, you are. So back at 7 o'clock, the American carriers have already launched a couple of dive bomber squadrons.
Yeah.
But they're heading in the wrong direction.
Okay.
So they needed to go, I think it was about 215 degrees.
Yeah.
And they were heading 216 degrees. So not quite complete opposite direction, but they're about 45 degrees
216 degrees versus 215. That's 1 degree.
No, 260. 260.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
So about 45 degrees in the wrong direction.
Okay.
From there.
Yeah, so they're like heading off. See ya.
Yeah. At the same time, there's been a lot of unsuccessful attacks on Japanese carriers with the American torpedo bombers.
Yeah.
So the Americans had problems with their torpedoes. The Japanese at Pearl Harbour had a new style of torpedo, and they had wooden fins on them, which allowed them to go in the shallow waters of Pearl Harbour.
Yeah.
The Americans were still working on their torpedoes. So they had problems of torpedoes going too deep and going underneath ships.
Yep.
They had problems with them prematurely exploding before they even got to the ship.
Yep.
Make the joke.
No.
They also had problems with the torpedo just ramming into the ship and not exploding at all. So there's like witnesses of Japanese people standing on the boat and just having this clunk of this torpedo slamming into the side of the ship and doing nothing.
Yep.
But it did help in a little way because it kept the carriers occupied. They had to keep changing directions to dodge the torpedoes because they didn't know they were going to slam into them and not blow up.
Yeah.
So they're changing direction. Which when you launch a plane off a carrier, it helps to be sailing into the wind, creates more lift over the wings, gives the planes better chance to take off. It also helped draw the Japanese fighter planes that were protecting the carrier, like their ships, away. So that was circumstance that happened.
Yeah.
So those planes that were off in the wrong direction, they were starting to run out of fuel.
So they're going, hey guys, where are these ships?
One of their officers are just like, we need to head back. And there was a pilot called Richard Best.
Yep.
Yes, his name was
Richard Best.
His name was Dick Best. They called him Dick Best.
Okay.
This is in the 40s, remember?
Okay. I was going to leave that alone.
Well, he was called Dick Best.
Sure.
He was like, nah, I want to keep looking for these ships. And in doing so, by chance, they spotted a wake of a Japanese destroyer that was chugging back to their fleet.
Yeah.
Because it was off chasing an American.
Classic Dick Best.
The destroyer
American hero, Dick Best.
He is American hero. I've got a little bit of information in him at the end for you.
Good.
He is actually an American hero.
Yeah. Sounds like a legend.
The destroyer was off chasing an American submarine. So it was going back to the group, and it actually led these two squadrons
back to the group.
Back to the group.
Yeah.
So a bit of luck there. That's the first bit of well, it's actually the second bit. The first bit is the powder keg that was in the carrier. This one's the second bit. So beginning at 10:22, the two squadrons split up, and they were going to attack two carriers. Yep. The Kaga and the Akai.
I know that one.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is that World of Warships?
It's in World of Warships.
But they kind of didn't talk to each other very well, so they ended up dive bombing the same.
Okay, great
same
job.
ship.
Fantastic effort. Yep. I'll bet that wasn't Dick Best's fault.
No, he noticed that they were doing that and
of course
pulled out of the dive.
Yes.
So
American hero.
He took his two wingmen
Dick Best
over to the other carrier and bombed that one.
Yeah, what a legend.
So the Kaga sustained 3 to 5 direct hits, which caused heavy damage and started multiple fires.
Oof. That is not a thing I ever want to experience, is being stuck on a ship that's on fire.
Japanese carriers had a wooden flight deck as well.
Oh, true. So as it burns, there's just big holes.
It's full of flammable material.
Jeez, that means as soon as it's on fire, it's useless.
Well, there's lots of water around.
Yeah, but
these were quite big fires.
The thing that they're launching planes off of is literally just burning.
Yep.
Okay.
The other good thing about Japanese carriers is they painted Japanese flags at the front of their flight deck. What's a Japanese flag look like?
It's a big target.
It's a big target. It's a big red circle. So it was perfect for the dive bombers.
Anyone that's never seen the World War II era Japanese flag, the Japanese flag is called the Rising Sun.
It's the same flag now. It hasn't changed.
Oh, no. No, wasn't it? Isn't the naval flag the one with the lines coming off the circle in the middle?
No.
I'm pretty sure it is, boy.
Well, the one they painted on was their national flag. It was just the big red circle. So they had big red circles at the front of their flight decks.
Okay. No, I'm right. There you go. Okay. One with the lines on it.
Oh, yeah.
You think you know this topic.
Anyway, the point is it's a big red circle at the front of the ship.
Hang on. All right, the national flag. Oh, hang on. What? This is all irrelevant, but either of us could be right. I don't know. On you go.
So, yeah, they had the big red circle, perfect for dive bombers to aim at.
Yeah.
both those carriers got hit. I have a quote from Lieutenant Clarence E. Dickinson, part of McCluskey's group.
What is with this country and dick names?
So this guy was
Corporal Johnson.
this guy was part of the other squadron that was flying with Dick Best.
Dick Best.
He is quoted in saying, "We were coming down in all directions on the port side of the carrier. I recognised her as the cargo, and she was enormous. The target was utterly satisfying. I saw a bomb hit just behind where I was aiming. I saw the deck ripple apart and curling back in all directions, exposing a great section of the hangar below. I saw my 500-pound bomb, which is 230 kilograms, hit right abreast of the carrier's island. The two 45-kilo bombs struck in the forward area of the parked planes."
Okay, so they've hit in front of the planes.
Yeah, so they've tore open the front of the flight deck, exposed the hangar, hit, I think the planes are parked at the back where they get ready to take off. So,
Yeah.
So do you know how a dive bomb works?
Yeah, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. Go up, friggin' nosedive down,
Pretty much.
drop your bomb, pull away, see you later.
Well, you got to drop your bomb as late as possible.
Yeah. Because you
Because-
want it to be moving as quick and...
Well,
I
it's
mean,
you don't want them to be able to move out of the road. You know, you don't want any wind or anything to affect it. So they drop it as low as possible and then pull out.
Yeah.
So, as I said, Dick Best had pulled out of that dive on that carrier and had moved over to the Akai. Him and his two wingmen dove on that and hit it. I've got a quote from a Japanese sailor. Okay, I'm going to have a crack at his name.
All right, let's go.
Mitsuo Fuchida.
Sounds right.
He is quoted in saying, a lookout screamed, "Hell divers." I looked up to see 3 black enemy planes plummeting towards our ship. Some of our machine guns managed to fire a few frantic bursts at them, but it was too late. The plump silhouettes of the American Dauntless dive bombers quickly grew larger, and then a number of black objects suddenly floated eerily from their wings. It'd be pretty terrifying.
Yeah. Being a modern wimp, war it just sounds the absolute worst thing in the world. And I know that it is the worst thing in the world. People don't enjoy war, but everything about it just sounds so terrifying.
Yeah, you got these 3 giant machines, just the noise they'd be making too. That's the German, the name is...
Messerschmitt?
No, it's different. The Messerschmitt's the fighter, the Stuka?
Yeah, Stuka bomber.
Yeah. They're the ones that made that terrible whistling noise.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. I believe it was a mistake, and they left it because it was scaring the crap out of the troops on the ground. But yeah, just imagine these 3 giant machines just plummeting down towards you, and then you see the bombs drop off, and there's just nothing you can do about it. And you're on a ship in the middle of an ocean. Mm-hmm. So it is said that the Akai only sustained 1 direct hit.
Yeah,
but it's the one that had all the bombs, the powder keg. Yeah, that is the one that had the powder keg.
It had the omen.
And guess who dropped that bomb that they reckon hit it?
Dick Best, American hero.
They reckon it was him.
And friend of the show.
And it struck the middle of the deck.
First merch.
And it exploded where all the...
Dick Best, enamel ring.
It exploded in the hangar where all the planes were refueling. All the bombs and stuff weren't stored properly. So it just... Dick
Best, explode.
It was not pretty. It was... One bomb took it out.
No, not pretty is an understatement.
Well, it just say
one bomb blew up a whole ship.
Yeah, just say there's recorded of a terrific fire, bodies all over the place.
Oh, jeez.
Plane stood up, plane stood tail up, belching livid flames and jet black smoke, making it impossible to bring the fires under control.
Oof.
Another bomb also exploded underwater, close to the stern, resulting in a geyser which bent the flight deck upwards.
As in... So water geyser.
A water geyser from the bomb exploding bent the end of the flight deck.
That's some power.
So at the same time, planes from the Yorktown went for the Soyuz.
Okay.
That's not pronounced correctly. Cool. And they reckon they hit that 3 times, causing extensive damage, ignited gasoline, creating another inferno, while stacked bombs and ammunition exploded. So that's pretty much at one time, 3 Japanese carriers on fire.
All gone. Yep.
On fire. So within 6 minutes, the Soyuz and the Kaga were ablaze from stem to stern, fire spreading quickly through them. The Kai, having been struck with only 1 bomb, took longer to burn, but they couldn't extinguish it, and it was eventually consumed by the flames and had to be abandoned. So the Japanese admiral was Nagamo.
Mm-hmm. Which ship's he on?
I think he was on the Akai.
Okay.
He began to grasp the enormity of what had happened, and he's actually gone into a state of shock at the moment.
Yeah.
So witnesses say they saw him standing near the ship's compass, looking out at the flames on his flagship. The flagship was the Yokai, and the two other characters in a trance-like daze. Despite being asked to abandon the ship, Nagamo did not move and was reluctant to leave the Yokai, just muttering, "It's not time yet." Nagamo's chief of staff was able to persuade him to leave the critically damaged ship, and with barely a perceptible nod and tears in his eyes, he agreed to go.
So can you, like, it would be, you're rocking up on this day and you're going, this is going to be the greatest day of my career.
They thought they had this battle
thought
in the
they had
books.
this sewed up,
Yep.
right? They thought it was done already. And then all of a sudden, 3 ships are gone. 3 of your carriers gone.
Yep.
And you're just like, oh, great.
These are fleet carriers, so they're even bigger than a normal, like they've
Yeah.
got light carriers and stuff like that. These are like flagships of their
Yeah.
fleet.
Why is Dick Best a character in the movie?
Yes.
Excellent.
That's going to make you watch the movie now. wouldn't
Probably,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Brad Pitt?
No.
Oh, well, that's poor casting.
So all 3 carriers remain temporarily afloat.
Yeah.
Despite initial hopes the Yokai could be saved, or at least towed back to Japan, all 3 were eventually abandoned and scuttled. So they sunk them.
Yeah.
Counterattack by the Japan.
Mm-hmm.
The Hairu, the sole surviving Japanese carrier, they launched a counterattack. First wave consisted of a couple of dive bombers following the retreating American aircraft and attacked the first carrier they encountered, which was
The Yorktown.
which is the only American carrier of I've actually named at the moment. They hit her with 3 bombs and blew a hole in the deck and snuffed out all but one of her boilers.
Okay. So she's limping again immediately.
She's not moving.
Okay.
Only 1 boiler's left.
Right.
So they've got they must have had like flags to communicate to the rest of the fleet. So they
Yep.
said they had a little flag up saying that we're
cooked.
we're broken down.
Yeah.
We can't move.
We're
And
attack AF.
And what did I say? There was holes in her flight deck as well.
Yeah.
The damage control parties were able to temporarily patch the flight deck and restore power to several boilers within an hour.
Wow.
So that gave her a speed.
That's quick.
Yeah, they gave her a speed
What
of
is it with
35
this
k's
ship?
an hour.
They're
I
just
know.
like-
This ship just keeps on going.
It'll take 7 years. It's done.
So that allowed her to
Move.
resume operations. They were able to launch planes
Okay.
again.
Even
Because
with the holes in the flight deck.
they patched them within
true.
the hour.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, there you go. I've got written down here, the Yorktown yanked down her yellow breakdown flag and up went a new hoist.
What was that hoist?
It just says my speed 5. So they must have like a flag that signals how fast
Speed.
they can go type of thing. The captain, Captain Buckmaster, signaled his men to hoist a new American flag on the foremast as well.
Nice.
And I did read a quote saying that one sailor that day realised the importance of the American flag. It just gave the whole ship an inspiration, this brand new flag. You imagine the ships took a beating at Coral Sea. It's just taken another beating
Poor
here.
thing is held together with sticky tape and hope.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And out comes this brand new, I've got dimensions of the flag if you want to hear it.
Yep.
10 by 15 feet.
That's a big flag.
It's a big flag.
That's 1.5 me's by
2 U's.
almost 3 me's.
Yeah. So an hour later, a second wave come back to
From
the
Japan.
Yorktown. No, from the Hairu carrier.
Yeah, I meant from the Japanese.
From the
Yep.
Japanese, yep, sorry. They come back to the Yorktown and it said that the repair effort was so effective, the Japanese pilots thought the Yorktown was a different ship.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, what's this?
So they thought they were attacking an undamaged carrier.
Wow. Good job.
They attacked it, crippling it.
I'll bet you Dick Best landed, fixed it himself, took off again.
No, he was on another
I don't want to
character.
hear what I don't want to know. Dick Best fixed it.
Okay.
American hero.
For everyone else, I believe he was on the Enterprise, the USS Enterprise.
Well, no, because that's from Star Trek, Joe.
I knew where that was going.
Oh, he saw it coming.
So they hit it with 2 torpedoes and she lost all power and developed a 23-degree list to port.
Ooh, that is a list.
Yeah. So they
So
thought...
that's just a list is when the ship's like tilting
leaning.
over
It's
on
tilted.
side.
It's 20
Yeah.
degrees tilted in the water.
Yeah.
It's off. It's not sitting level. It's off 23 degrees to the left. Port is left. Do you know the rhyme?
No.
There's no red port left. So red is on the left and that's the port side. Fun fact. Don't say you don't learn anything from this podcast. If you ever find yourself on a boat and you need to go to the port side,
No port left.
that's the left. So red port. It's important because you've got red and green.
All right. Cool. I'm never going on a boat again.
So the Japanese thought they had two different carriers.
Yeah, right. So they're going, hooray, 2 down, 1 to go.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what they thought.
Yep.
So later that afternoon, the Yorktown scout aircraft located that Japanese carrier.
Yep.
And the Enterprise launched another strike of 24 dive bombers. So they've scrounged up, because they lost planes attacking the other ones last time. So they didn't just go and bomb these 3 carriers and come out unscathed. They lost planes.
Yeah.
The Japanese fighter planes shot them down. Mm-hmm. Some pilots took too late to dive out, so they crashed after they dropped their bombs. So the Enterprise launched 24 dive bombers, and there was a couple of fighters that come from the Yorktown because it was now being abandoned.
Yeah.
So they've left that, and I believe they were going to go back to one of the other carriers because they couldn't land on it anymore. And they say that squadron hit the Hairu 4, maybe 5 times.
Okay. So they gave it a good slap.
And it's on fire now too.
Yeah, okay. So that's the last one now?
That is all 4 of the Japanese carriers.
Yep.
On fire, if not
loss.
already destroyed.
Take the L, boys.
So they tried to control the fire on the Hairu, but they couldn't. So they evacuated it. So they had other support ships.
Yep.
They evacuated it and headed northeast. They tried to scuttle it. The Japanese tried to scuttle the carrier with a torpedo. That didn't work because she stayed afloat for a couple more hours afterwards. So then they thought, okay, we'll tow this one back to Japan. No.
Gone.
After they went, okay, we'll save it now. It sunk.
Let's try and sink it. Oh no, save it. Oh no, now it's gone.
The ship's captain, he decided to go down with the ship.
Oh jeez. Yep. So tradition, isn't it the best?
Well, yeah, they reckon that cost Japan their best carrier officer, they reckon.
Yeah.
So he decided to go down, and apparently the story goes one young sailor tried to, I want to stay with you, Captain, and he's like, no, Japan needs young men. Off you go.
Just so dumb. Like, I will never understand the, go down with your ship. Like, it's just stupid.
Well, the Japanese are very traditional.
Yeah, great. I understand that. Respect that. Dumb tradition.
Fair enough. So that's pretty much it. That was late afternoon, the last little battle between the Hairu and the Yorktown and Enterprise.
So in one day, this whole beautiful plan of Japan's
undone.
Gone.
So into the night, they both sides pretty much took stock of what happened, what damage was caused.
Because war didn't really continue at night in World War II, did it? It was just like, we need daylight.
Yeah, I think they did. I think with carrier-based warfare, you needed daylight. The Americans were afraid that the Japanese battleships were going to actually come in at nighttime because they had a better history at nighttime in fighting. Japanese battleships were very feared back then. They were massive, as you would know from World of Warships.
Yes, the totally historically accurate game. Yep.
I believe each ship is pretty accurate.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, not the point. They were also afraid that Japan was going to try that landing invasion at nighttime on the actual island itself.
Yep.
So that was it.
All right.
That was the end of the fighting pretty much.
Yep. Attack AF.
So we're going to go back to your ship, the Yorktown.
Yeah.
USS Yorktown. They tried to salvage it.
Mm.
So she was going to get towed back to...
Again?
She was going to get towed back to Pearl Harbour.
Yep.
But on the afternoon of the 6th of June, a Japanese submarine found it.
Boo.
And it hit the ship towing it, and it hit the Yorktown.
Boo.
So there was not really any casualties because it was pretty much
already
abandoned.
Pretty much emptied, yeah.
What happened to it was...
Sunk, probably, right?
It sunk, but the 23-degree list started increasing to port.
Yeah.
And soon afterwards, on 5:30, it had pretty much tipped all the way onto her port side, and it revealed the big torpedo hole in the side of the ship.
And down she goes.
So yeah, there was a bunch of ships at half-mast, and there was some planes that dipped their wings to salute it, because this ship had been through a lot. We've been with it from the Coral Sea.
Yeah.
For a whole month. It's taken a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Fixed it up, got it back out. It's gone through
I feel a connection with it, and it's like 60 years, 80 years-ish later.
Yep. So on to our mate, American hero, Richard Best.
American hero.
Would you like some information on him?
Best. Absolutely.
Okay. He is credited to be the only pilot in history to strike 2 carriers in one day.
Nice.
So they credit him with the strike on the Akai.
Yep.
And the one on the Hairu.
Nice. Is he still alive?
No. He died in October of 2001 at 91.
Wow.
So the other thing...
91. So he would have been... If it was 2001, he would have been, what, 50? What? No. He would have been 40. What?
Yeah, so this was 42.
He would have been in his 30s.
39.
Man, some terrible maths there.
39.
39. Wow.
It is said that he was the best dive bomber in World War II.
Yeah.
And something else that's interesting for our mate, American hero.
American hero.
During that first mission, to bomb the Akai.
Mm-hmm.
He actually had a faulty oxygen canister.
Okay. So he couldn't breathe.
Yeah, pretty much. It was creating caustic.
What?
He was creating caustic soda instead of oxygen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that he couldn't breathe, and that actually activated latent tuberculosis in his lungs.
Yeah, right.
So he was retired from flying later
After
that year. Yep.
Ooh.
He never flew again.
Oh, really? No. What a way to go out, though.
What a way to go out.
Yeah. American hero.
So that's the Battle of Midway.
Yeah, big one.
There's, like I said, there was just some events, like the mistake on the Japanese side, loading the
It just seems
powder
like
keg up, the luck of those squadrons finding the carriers
just
after getting
accidentally
lost.
finding it, yeah.
And it changed World War II. Japan never recovered from losing those 4 carriers. And
Yeah,
so
I mean, how many did they have in total?
carriers,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
More than 4.
More than 4. At the Battle of Midway, they had 4.
Yep.
And they lost all 4.
It just seems like Japan went, all right, this is our plan. Nothing can go wrong. And then everything went wrong.
I've got some stats here on
Yeah.
what was lost.
Yeah. Okay.
On the US side was 1 fleet carrier, Rip Yorktown,
Oh,
1 destroyer,
pour one out for my homie.
150 aircraft destroyed, and then we had 307 sailors killed, including 3 killed as prisoners.
Oof. Okay.
On the Japanese side, there was 4 fleet carriers sunk, 1 heavy cruiser, 1 heavy cruiser damaged, 248 aircraft destroyed, 3,057 sailors killed, and 37 captured.
So big. Just big numbers all around.
Yeah, they never recovered.
Yeah.
It let the Americans maintain dominancy
Yeah.
in the Pacific.
Which eventually led to them winning everything over in the Pacific.
Yeah, well, you know how they won.
Yep.
Dropped a couple of bombs.
Just a couple. Yep.
Just
Crisp 2. Fat Boy. Is Fat Man? Is it Fat Boy? Fat Boy?
Fat Boy.
And Little Man?
I think so. I think that's
Yeah.
correct.
I feel like I should know that one. But anyway. Well, yeah, big battle.
Yeah, so yeah, I just find it one battle pretty much
It's just
turned the tide.
a series of unfortunate events for Japan.
In a way, but some
Yeah.
of those events were their own doing.
Yeah.
That one admiral's decision to chop and change all the time,
Yeah.
and their whole plan was based on old tactics as well. They never
Yeah.
really developed new.
Update to what was modern.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. All right. Well, good
Well-
story, boy.
Thanks for listening to Cheeky Tales this week.
Yeah. Episode 2 in the books.
Time
All
to
right.
start editing.
Yeah. Well, we got. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Tuesday in 2 weeks' time. Hope to speak to you then.
It'll be your turn then, won't it?
It will be my turn.
Yep. So you'll be telling us a cheeky tale. Well,
I will be telling you a cheeky tale. Telling all of you a cheeky tale.
again, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Hope you
Raycon,
enjoyed
if you're
it.
out there, give us some sponsorship.
You got to keep plugging that until you
Race
got
to
it, don't
Raycon.
you? Hashtag race to Raycon.
Have a good week, everyone.